You're listening to Secret Sonics, a podcast exploring the creative side of music production. Join us weekly for honest conversations with real-world music producers and audio professionals. Hello and welcome back to Secret Sonics. I'm your host, Ben Wallach. My guest today is Chris Durkin. Chris is a Manchester, UK-based music producer, artist, and DJ. Chris got his start making alternative electronic music, for which he received support from the BBC, Capital Radio, and Cloud Kid. As an artist, Chris has accumulated over 250,000 plays across streaming platforms via label releases. Chris made the jump to producing in 2016 after he was announced as a Vodafone future breaker on the Big Top 40 radio show hosted by Marvin Humes. This led to interest from publishing companies, which led to him getting placements on TV and other corporate sync licensing gigs. These successes, along with his work with his longtime collaborator, Tyrone Webster, have helped Chris build a reputation for himself. Chris can often be found traveling around the world, meeting artists, working remotely and in person. Former guest of the show, Carl Bonner, recommended I reach out to Chris, so it's a pleasure to have him on. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure to have you. Tell me a bit about your story. How did you get started doing music production?
So it's kind of like the same kind of story as a lot of people think. I kind of started as a teen. I was always listening to music, always been super interested in music. And like my granddad was a guitarist and he used to play the harmonica. And, I've just been surrounded by music my whole life. And I kind of started playing guitar when maybe, I think I was 14. And yeah, it was kind of just like the classical guitar. And my tutor was just so passionate about what he was doing. And he just used to be mesmerizing to watch. And, I think that kind of rubbed off on me. And that kind of passion, it just really showed me that I wanted to do music, Like, how could I kind of do this for the rest of my life? And at the time, I kind of thought guitar is what I was going to do. I was going to be a guitarist, which I've kind of like come back to now. I do play guitar quite a bit, but I kind of had like a hiatus in the middle. But it's always something I've known that I wanted to do. And then really how I got into production was I got like a cheap keyboard when I was 15, I think. And I was just, the DJs where you press like the DJ button, it's like DJ. And it's just like kind of playing around with that. And started learning like the basics of, piano playing. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it just kind of progressed, I think. And I got like a stolen version of Cubase from a friend who was learning to play the drums at the time. And yeah, it was just a platform for me to put my creative ideas down. And then it just kind of built up from there. And I think with my music taste and how that kind of developed, the production became more important.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that you started off on the guitar and you kind of went down this more keyboard pop production like route.
Yeah.
How did that happen for you? Did your mind open up like, oh, I actually enjoy this other kind of music? Like, what was that process like for you?
I mean, to be honest, I think I was just kind of listening to more electronic, more pop kind of music. Because when I was playing the guitar, it was very much kind of like AC/DC, Guns N' Roses. I just got into playing the electric guitar as well. And I was like rocking out in my garage thinking I was going to be playing in front of thousands of people and, playing mad guitar solos. And I think it was just, it was kind of my friends were listening to electronic music and pop. And I don't know, it's hard to kind of explain or kind of pinpoint a moment where I kind of realized this is what, I changed my mind essentially. I was listening to like a lot of David Guetta, like Swedish House Mafia, all the really like EDM pop kind of stuff. And I think it was just the melodies were so mesmerizing to me. I was so interested in how they were building these tracks, which was different to what I was listening to before. Obviously like AC/DC and David Guetta are very, very different things. So I think,
yeah, totally.
So I think I just wanted to kind of find out how I could replicate that, but in my own kind of style. And yeah, I think I mean, like my piano skills are very, very basic, or they were at the time anyway. So melody definitely took the forefront of that, and just finding something that was really catchy. I mean, the productions were awful, like absolutely awful for about 5 years after that. But I will say, listening back to songs that I produced maybe 5-10 years ago, the melody was still pretty good. You know, you kind of listen back to it and think, actually, if this was like reproduced and, you know, you took half of this out,
yeah,
it would still be an okay song.
It's funny how we were just talking about before we started recording, how like I made an album of my own songs in like 2013. It's like, and now I hate the way it sounds.
Yeah.
And I've thought about like, let's go back into it, because some of those songs are okay, you know, like maybe I'll remix them and they'll actually be decent. you know?
Exactly. It's funny, I was going through some of my old songs a few days ago, and I was just sending them to my friends and thinking like, what is this? This is awful. But there were quite a few songs when I was listening back to it and I'm thinking, you know, actually, I might like redo this. This could be quite cool. But yeah, I think
it just shows that you have a sonic, or maybe not a sonic signature, but like an artistic signature.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's like part of who you are from the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. And I think everyone kind of has that, and it's hard to kind of stray from that in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a guitar player. I don't know if you know Corey Wong. He's one of the guitar players in Wolfpack. He's an amazing, phenomenal funk guitarist, and he has a podcast now called Wong Notes, because his last name is Wong. It's a great name, and he was talking about how he really decided to own his own sound, like own his artistic voice, maybe like 3 years ago or so, and like things have really taken off for him since then. It's like, it's not about becoming the best guitarist or the best whatever. It's about becoming the best possible you.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And you just, once you start honing in on that aspect of whatever it is you're doing, you're gonna succeed, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people will often ask me, how do I make music, or, you know, how do I come up with ideas that maybe aren't traditional? And I always kind of say, just follow what sounds good to you. You know, it's your creativity. You know, music is subjective, so just follow to what feels good to you and what sounds good, and you will have this finished product that you're really proud of. I think when you kind of think, oh, this doesn't sound like this, or this doesn't sound like an artist that I want to kind of replicate, that's when you kind of stray from like you said, it's like this sound that you have, and that's when it kind of has like a identity crisis almost, and you kind of lose the very soul of the music.
Yeah. Damn.
Sorry, that was deep, but
yeah, I mean, no, it's great. So tell me a little bit more about your journey into like getting into production. Did you have any resources that you found initially that like helped you jump over that hurdle or whatever?
I kind of got like a hand-me-down laptop from my brother, old MacBook, and I was using GarageBand, and you know, I was kind of playing a lot with MIDI and loops and that kind of thing as samples. And I think from there it just kind of progressed to, I mean, I was listening to a lot of like Avicii, Nero, Skrillex, and like the kind of sounds that they were making was something that I'd never heard before. And then I was kind of interested, like, how can I do this?
Right.
So then I was like, got like a cracked version of Massive, cracked version of Sierra, and you know, just kind of started playing around with these things. And
this is a confessional, guys.
And yeah, it was mostly just like Massive and Serum that kind of pushed me away from kind of really cheesy MIDI sounds. And then it was kind of finding like native instruments as well, like Alicia's keys especially. Like trying to find a realistic piano sound was so incredibly difficult, unless you have the kind of money that you can spend on, you know, a really good like synth or an actual piano, which is something I didn't have. So, you know,
right.
Finding like Contact was just incredible.
Yeah, it's funny how Contact is like, maybe it's not the best at anything, but it's the best for everything. Like
Yeah.
If you want to like get like a little bit of all the things you're going to need, like Contact is like the jumping off point.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can pretty much find everything you need on Contact.
Yeah. I mean, Massive is also Native Instruments. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you delve deep? Is sound design and making your own synth patches, is that a big part of what you do?
Yes and no. I mean, I was kind of saying this before the show, but I'm very much like I consider myself a creative producer rather than a technical producer. So what I kind of mean by that is I focus more on the feel of the song rather than specific sounds. So I think once I've nailed the kind of how it feels and the vibe that I'm going for, then I kind of focus on sound design and making all these cool sounds. So it's kind of secondary to me. But at the same time, I really do enjoy just making weird sounds. And I do like a lot of resampling. Like if I find a cool sound, I think, oh, this is cool, but not quite there. I'll resample it. I'll just stretch it out, fuck it up, and just see what I can get coming out of that. And quite often it just comes up with something super weird, but it works. Like it sounds good. And you'll hear like a lot of like ear candy. It may even just be there for, like a second. But, if you can make something kind of cool just by stretching something out or sticking a flanger on there and then
yeah,
and then resampling that, it just makes some really weird sounds, but it works.
Make other people's samples your own.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's loads of things that you can do. I mean, because I know a lot of producers that are so heavily into sound design, and I wish, I really do wish that I was so interested in sound design, because the kind of sounds that some of these producers make is just mind blowing. So, I mean, like I said, it's more the creative aspect that interests me the most, and producing was always kind of the platform that I needed to kind of push my creative ideas.
Yeah. I would say similar for me also. Like I always felt like the DAW became my canvas very quickly.
Yeah.
Once I realized like it's much easier for me to write a song now with the DAW or the DAW, whatever, open than on just sitting down with a guitar, which maybe it used to be.
Yeah.
It's much more of an infinite canvas, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you don't really start with the sound design, what's usually like, I don't know, how do you start tracks? Do you like start with drums? Do you start with like chords, bass? What's your deal?
I mean, I'd say usually it's just a piano, and I will try and find some kind of interesting chords. I think for me, it really needs to have like some harmonic interest from the get-go. I can't just kind of do block chords and then build something from that, because it just doesn't come across as inspiring to me. That's when I'm writing from scratch. So I kind of need to have interesting harmonic ideas, and I'll just start from the piano basically. I mean, one of the recent songs I did was Stockholm Syndrome for Arcana, and the intro and outro of that is just piano, just some chords and like a really nice like haunting melody, and that's essentially how it started. And a lot of my songs do start the same way. I might revoice the chords or take out the piano and play something else with it, but usually I will just start with piano and try and get a decent sound on there.
Love it. When you're doing these songs, like do you usually have like your own artistry in mind, or are you planning on collaborating with other artists, or are you building them for other artists? How does that work for you?
I mean, it's a mixture really. So it's kind of funny, since I've started working more with artists, I find it difficult to find my own or produce my own music just for me. Because I feel like it was the other way around when I first started. I was very like involved in my own sound, I suppose. And yeah, I kind of found it difficult to translate that to working with someone else. But now it's completely the other way around. Like I can't sit and write a song for myself and kind of finish it within a month or like 2 months or 6 months. It's
just keep stretching.
Yeah. But I think that's because I I love like the collaboration aspect of it.